Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're going to be looking at ITC Limited.
A major player in the Indian market.
Yeah, you guys sent over a ton of information on them.
Annual reports.
Sustainability
Or
reports.
even meeting notices.
Seems like you want the full picture of their financial health and what their growth strategy looks like.
You got it.
That's exactly what we're going to do today.
We'll be taking a close look at everything from their revenue trends and profit margins,
See how well they manage their costs,
their debt situation.
and even their sustainability efforts,
It's all about understanding where they stand in India's dynamic market.
and what they've got planned for the future.
There's a lot to uncover here.
Let's jump right in. I was really interested in their ITC Next strategy.
It seems like they're aiming to ride the wave of India's economic rise and become a global force.
Right.
What I found really fascinating was how they're tying their strategy to the government's Viksit Bharat vision, a developed India. They're tapping into all these major trends, infrastructure development, financial reforms, and India's increasing role in the global economy.
And it seems like they're not just talking about it.
No, they're not.
They've launched over 300 new products in the past 3 years alone.
That's a serious commitment.
Yeah.
It's really strategic, too. They're focused on expanding their core businesses.
Especially their fast-moving consumer goods sector.
Right, their FMCG.
I think most people listening probably know.
Yeah.
But FMCG, that's like everyday products.
Right.
Food and beverages.
Personal care items.
That kind of thing, right?
Exactly.
Just want to make sure everyone's on the same page.
So ITC is seeing significant revenue growth in their FMCG others category.
So everything beyond cigarettes.
Which means everything beyond cigarettes.
Gotcha.
Their report actually highlights that they have one of the highest potentials for market expansion.
Out of all the companies in the Indian FMCG space.
In the entire Indian FMCG space.
So they're already big.
They're already big.
But it sounds like they're aiming to get even bigger.
Precisely. And one way they're doing that is through strategic brand extensions.
Oh, okay.
They're taking well-known brands like Ashirvad.
Which is known for staples like out of wheat flour.
Yeah, and they're stretching it into new areas like dairy and ready-to-eat meals.
Smart. Those are really booming segments right now in India.
It is. It's like they're leveraging a well-known name.
To conquer new territory.
Exactly.
Instead of starting from scratch with a brand nobody knows.
It's a less risky way to drive growth.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
But they're not solely relying on just organic growth.
Right. I noticed they're also actively pursuing acquisitions and joint ventures.
You're right on the money.
Which is a clear sign of their ambition to expand their reach and portfolio.
They're being really proactive about finding opportunities.
Instead of just sitting back and waiting for things to happen.
I like to think of it like they're saying, we're not just riding the wave, we're building a bigger surfboard.
I like that.
Speaking of building, let's move on to their Make in India focus. They're really pushing import substitution.
Especially in their paper and packaging business.
Which aligns perfectly with the government's initiative to boost domestic production and reduce reliance on imports.
It's a trend we're seeing across many Indian industries.
Definitely.
So they're ambitious,
Yes.
strategic,
Uh-huh.
and in tune with these national initiatives.
What more could you want?
Well, at the end of the day, it all comes down to profitability. Right?
Absolutely.
So let's take a look at those profit margins.
We've got a lot of data here, but maybe we could focus on their star performers.
Oh, great.
FMCG, hotels, and their paperboards, paper and packaging segment.
Gotcha.
And it looks like their gross and net profit margins in those segments are pretty hefty.
Yeah, they seem to have good control over their costs.
Efficient operations.
And maybe even some strong pricing power.
But to really understand their efficiency.
We need to look deeper into their cost management strategies.
Exactly.
Let's do it.
So one thing that really jumps out at me when I look at their operating expenses and their cost of goods sold is their distributed manufacturing footprint for their FMCG products.
Right. Instead of having just a few massive factories,
Yeah.
they've spread out their production closer to their customers.
Exactly.
And that cuts down on transportation costs.
It keeps their products fresher.
And allows them to respond more quickly to regional changes in demand.
Exactly. It's a really smart way to optimize their operations.
And it looks like they're also embracing all of these Industry 4.0 technologies.
Especially in their paper and packaging business.
All the automation.
Data analytics.
All the futuristic stuff.
That's right. Think of it as this constant drive for efficiency gains.
So it's not just about cutting costs.
Yeah.
It's about doing things smarter.
And more sustainably.
Exactly.
And that leads us perfectly into another really important aspect of their financial health cash flow.
Right, because A company can look great on paper,
Absolutely.
but still struggle if they're not managing their cash effectively.
Exactly. So let's look at their cash flow statements.
Okay.
So the first thing that jumps out.
Is there robust operating cash flow?
Right. They're consistently generating cash from their core operations.
Which is a great sign of sustainability.
Absolutely.
I also notice they have a positive free cash flow,
Which means they have cash left over after investing in their business.
giving them a lot of flexibility.
They can use that cash to fuel more growth
Pay down debt.
or even reward shareholders with dividends.
Yeah, that's a real sign of financial strength.
It is.
Speaking of debt,
Yeah.
that was another thing I wanted to look at,
So their debt-to-equity ratio,
is something to keep an eye on.
but their interest coverage ratio seems pretty comfortable.
It seems like they're managing their debt well,
Their earnings are sufficient to cover their interest expenses.
but they don't go into too much detail about their specific debt profile.
You're right.
We might need a separate deep dive if we want to really understand their debt management strategy.
That's a good point.
Maybe another time.
But for now, yeah.
Let's zoom back out
Okay.
and talk about their approach to the market.
It seems like they're not taking a one-size-fits-all approach.
You're absolutely right.
I mean, they really emphasize their focus on regional consumer preferences.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which is essential in a diverse market like India.
And they even give some really interesting specific examples.
Like what?
Their Sunrise Hasal Kumura product
Okay.
and packaging that features Madhubani artwork.
Both tailored for specific regional markets.
Yeah, the Hasal Kumura is a savory snack,
Popular in Eastern India.
and Madhubani art is from Bihar.
Yeah, it demonstrates how much they're willing to adapt their products and marketing.
To resonate with those local tastes and cultural nuances.
It's like they're speaking different dialects of the consumer language.
And that brings us to another example.
Which is?
Their Classmate brand of stationery.
Ah, yes, the notebooks.
Yeah.
I used those in school.
I think a lot of people listening probably did too.
Probably, yeah.
They're incorporating all these interactive features and enjoy learning themes
To make learning fun and engaging.
to try to capture a bigger share of that student market.
And of course, they're not ignoring the e-commerce boom.
Of course, not everyone's shopping online these days.
Right.
They're actively collaborating with all these online platforms.
And even developing specific products.
just for those online channels.
It's all about meeting consumers where they are.
And making it as easy as possible for them to buy their products.
Convenience is king.
It really is.
And they're applying a similar strategy in their hotel business, too.
Right. They're expanding through management contracts.
Instead of just owning all of the properties themselves.
It's a way to expand their brand presence without all of that massive capital investment required to own all those properties.
So it's a smarter, more agile approach to growth.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered
Their
their revenue growth, smart cost management,
strong cash flow.
and their keen understanding of the Indian market
But there's one more piece of the puzzle,
that I want to explore.
which is they're very vocal about it.
Yeah, they are.
They've been pushing their Sustainability 2.0 agenda
And receiving high ratings from CDP.
through both climate and water management.
They're walking the walk.
They are. It's not just talk.
One initiative that I was particularly impressed by was their ITC Mission Millets.
Oh, yeah, that's a great one.
They're promoting millets as a sustainable and healthy food option,
Launching new millet-based products.
working directly with farmers to encourage these sustainable farming practices.
It's a multi-pronged approach.
They're tapping into this consumer demand for healthier and more sustainable options,
And ensuring a sustainable supply chain.
all while supporting rural livelihoods.
Quite impressive.
It really is. But it makes you wonder,
Yeah.
how do these sustainability efforts actually translate into tangible financial benefits in the long run?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right.
We're going to keep an eye on that for sure.
And speaking of things to keep an eye on, their annual report also gives us some insights into their risk management.
Which is so crucial for any company operating in a dynamic environment like India.
Because no matter how well a company is currently doing,
Yeah.
there's always these potential threats lurking around the corner.
So tell me, how do they approach risk management?
Well, they have this dedicated corporate risk management cell
Okay.
that identifies and assesses potential risks across their entire business.
So it's not just a casual, hey, what could go wrong kind of thing.
No, they're taking a very structured and systematic approach.
And they're following established best practices, right?
They mentioned adopting the ISO 31000 risk management standard.
Which shows they're serious about managing risk in a structured and systematic way.
And it's not just about identifying those risks.
Right.
It's about actually developing mitigation strategies.
And continuously monitoring those risks over time.
So it's not just a one-time thing. It's an ongoing process.
Exactly.
They seem to be particularly aware of the risks around cybersecurity.
Especially with that increasing reliance on cloud-based operations.
That makes sense given all the cyber attacks we've been seeing.
Yeah.
What are they doing to address these risks?
Well, they've invested in a next-generation cybersecurity operations center.
Okay.
And they're constantly upgrading their security measures to protect their data and systems.
So it sounds like they're taking this very proactive, multi-layered approach to cybersecurity.
Yes. Minimizing those vulnerabilities and ensuring business continuity.
Yeah, it's reassuring to see that they're taking all these risks seriously.
It shows a real sense of responsibility to their shareholders,
And
customers, and partners.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot today.
Yeah.
Their financials,
Their market strategies,
their sustainability initiatives.
and their risk management practices.
It's really clear that ITC is this really complex and dynamic company.
There's no doubt about that.
So as we look ahead,
Yeah.
what can we expect from them
Right. What are the big challenges and opportunities?
that they're likely to face in the coming years?
Yeah. One of the biggest things they're going to have to grapple with is this evolving consumer landscape in India.
Consumer preferences are changing so quickly.
People are more health conscious,
More environmentally aware.
and their expectations are higher than ever before.
It's a global shift.
But it's really pronounced in India with their young and increasingly discerning population.
So ITC really needs to stay ahead of these trends.
Absolutely, especially when it comes to their product portfolio.
They've made a start with initiatives like ITC Mission Millets,
Right.
which taps into the demand for healthier and more sustainable food.
But they can't afford to become complacent.
They need to keep innovating and adapting.
And coming up with new and exciting products and services.
And they have to do it while remaining mindful of affordability.
Right. Because India is a very price-sensitive market.
It's all about finding that sweet spot.
Between premiumization and accessibility.
And it's not just about meeting those consumer demands.
Right.
They're also facing this really intense competition.
The Indian market is getting more and more crowded every day.
Yeah, both domestic and international companies want a piece of the pie.
They've built strong brands, but they can't rest on their laurels.
Right. They need to keep investing in brand building.
Marketing and distribution.
If they want to stay ahead.
It's like running a marathon.
Okay.
You can't just sprint at the beginning. You've got to pace yourself.
Conserve your energy.
Adapt to the changing terrain.
I like that analogy.
And I think they're going to have to leverage their deep understanding of the Indian consumer to really differentiate themselves.
Okay, so speaking of the Indian consumer,
Yeah.
let's talk about some of those opportunities.
Like what?
One that really stands out is the growth of the rural market in India,
That's a vast market.
with so much potential.
And ITC is already pretty well positioned.
Thanks to their extensive distribution network and their agricultural businesses.
But how can they really tap into that potential?
I think they could develop specific products and services.
Tailored to the needs of rural consumers.
Right.
And leverage their expertise in agriculture.
To create these really value-added products and services.
It's all about understanding those challenges.
And aspirations of those rural communities.
And finding solutions.
Right.
But of course, distribution and logistics will be key.
Getting those products to those remote areas is a whole other challenge.
Absolutely.
It's not just about rural India, though.
True.
That rising middle class is another huge opportunity.
As people's incomes grow,
They're going to be looking for more premium products and experiences.
that really plays to ITC's strengths.
Yeah, in areas like hospitality,
Packaged foods.
personal care,
So they could expand their premium offerings.
focus on quality.
Innovation and brand building.
Yeah, elevate that consumer experience.
Offer something really unique and aspirational.
They can also leverage their digital capabilities
Right.
to connect with these consumers.
Digital marketing.
E-commerce
They're going to play a critical role.
in reaching and engaging with this segment.
Definitely.
And then there's the whole world beyond India.
International expansion.
Ah.
They've dipped their toes in.
But there's still a lot of room for growth.
They could build on their presence in places like Southeast Asia,
Africa,
showcase their brands.
their expertise.
It's time to take their success story global.
But international expansion comes with its own set of challenges, right?
Absolutely. You've got to assess those market opportunities.
Adapt your products.
Adapt your strategies
Build strong partnerships.
in these new markets.
Yeah, it's not easy.
But the rewards can be huge.
So it's clear that ITC has a lot on their plate.
A lot on their plate.
They've got exciting opportunities.
Daunting challenges.
But one thing is for sure, they're not afraid of change.
Absolutely.
They're always evolving and innovating.
Always looking for new ways to create value.
I think their commitment to sustainability,
Yeah.
their deep understanding of the market,
And their proven track record of success.
all suggest that they're well-positioned to thrive in the coming years.
I think so too.
We've covered a ton of ground today.
A lot.
I think our listener has a lot to digest.
I think so too.
So let's wrap things up for now. When we come back,
Yeah.
we'll explore some of the specific challenges and opportunities that lie ahead for ITC.
Can't wait.
Stay with us.
Stay tuned. Welcome back.
So we've been getting into all the details of ITC Limited,
Their financials.
their strategies.
Even their people.
And I gotta say,
Yeah.
I'm really impressed by their commitment to sustainability.
It's more than just a trend for them.
Oh, yeah, it seems like it's woven into their DNA.
You're right. Their Sustainability 2.0 agenda goes way beyond checking boxes.
Okay.
They're aiming for a net zero economy,
Wow.
decarbonization,
Uh-huh.
green infrastructure.
And even carbon sequestration.
It's a really holistic approach.
And it's not just about their own operations.
No, it's not.
Like their afforestation initiative
Okay.
has greened something like 490,000 acres.
Across thousands of villages,
That's amazing.
it's not just helping with carbon sequestration.
Right.
It's creating livelihood opportunities for those rural communities.
So it's sustainability with a social impact.
Exactly.
And that ties in with their focus on water stewardship as well.
Okay.
They've implemented micro-irrigation technologies on over 1.5 million acres,
Saving vast amounts of water
maximizing efficiency.
and making every drop count.
And they're not just focused on their own needs.
I know they're not.
They're working with farmers,
To implement these water-saving techniques.
which benefits the entire ecosystem.
It's a win-win.
It improves water security
Boosts agricultural productivity.
and enhances farmer incomes.
Talk about a ripple effect.
Speaking of ripples, let's talk about waste management.
Okay.
They've been plastic neutral since 2021-22.
That's huge for a company of their size.
Yeah, I was really impressed by their solid waste management models.
Tell me about them.
They treat waste as a resource.
Okay.
They promote segregation at the source.
And ensure that as little as possible goes to landfill.
It's a circular economy approach.
And they're involving local communities.
And the informal sector.
Creating sustainable livelihoods.
It's like they've considered every single angle.
Environmental.
Economic.
They even have initiatives for biodiversity conservation.
They recognize how important biodiversity is.
For their long-term sustainability.
Right, so they're protecting and restoring natural habitats.
Working with local communities.
And even participating in global initiatives like the Task Force on Nature-Related Financial Disclosures.
It's clear they're not just talking about sustainability.
No.
They're making it a core part of their business.
And they have the governance in place to support it.
Yeah, they have that board-level CSR and sustainability committee.
Overseeing all their initiatives.
Ensuring accountability and transparency.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've seen how deeply embedded sustainability is.
In ITC's DNA.
But even the best companies can't eliminate all risks.
True.
So what does their annual report tell us about their risk management? Well, as we mentioned earlier, they have that dedicated corporate risk management cell.
Right.
Identifying and assessing potential risks.
And they're following those established best practices.
Like the ISO 31000 risk management standard.
Which shows they're serious about managing risk systematically.
And remember, it's not just about identifying those risks.
Yeah.
It's about developing those mitigation strategies.
And constantly monitoring them.
So it's an ongoing process.
And they seem to be especially aware of those cybersecurity risks.
Especially with their increasing reliance on cloud-based operations.
That's smart, considering how sophisticated those cyber attacks are getting.
What are they doing to address those?
They've invested in a next-generation cybersecurity operations center.
Okay.
And they're constantly upgrading their security measures.
To protect their data and systems?
It sounds like they're taking a really proactive and multi-layered approach to cybersecurity.
Minimizing vulnerabilities.
And ensuring business continuity.
It's reassuring to see them taking this so seriously.
It shows a sense of responsibility.
To their shareholders.
Their employees.
Customers. So we've talked about their financial,
Their market strategies.
their sustainability.
And their risk management.
ITC is a complex company.
Yeah, they are.
There's no doubt about it.
What can we expect from them in the future?
What are the big challenges and opportunities they'll be facing?
Well, one of the biggest challenges is going to be that evolving consumer landscape in India.
Right. Consumer preferences are changing so rapidly.
People are becoming more health conscious,
Environmentally aware.
and their expectations are higher than ever.
It's a global trend.
But it's really pronounced in India with their young and increasingly discerning population,
So ITC needs to stay ahead of the curve.
especially when it comes to their product portfolio.
They've made a good start with those initiatives like ITC mission millets.
Tapping into that demand for healthier and more sustainable food options.
But they can't just rest on their laurels.
They need to keep innovating and adapting.
Coming up with new and exciting products and services that align with these changing preferences.
And they have to do all that while staying mindful of affordability.
Absolutely. India is a very price-sensitive market.
It's all about finding that balance between premiumization and accessibility.
Another major challenge is going to be competition,
The Indian market is getting more crowded every day.
with both domestic and international players vying for market share,
ITC will need to defend its turf.
especially in their core FMCG segment where the competition is fierce.
They've done a good job building those strong brands.
But they can't just sit back and relax.
They need to keep investing.
In brand building,
Marketing and distribution.
if they want to stay ahead of the curve,
It's like running a marathon. You can't just sprint at the beginning.
you've got to pace yourself, conserve your energy, and adapt to that changing terrain.
I like that analogy.
And they'll need to leverage their understanding of the Indian consumer to set themselves apart from the competition.
Speaking of the Indian consumer, let's talk about opportunities.
Okay, like what?
Well, one that stands out to me is the growth of the rural market.
That's a huge market with enormous potential.
And ITC is already well positioned there.
Thanks to their distribution network and their agricultural businesses.
But they can do even more.
Right, like what?
Develop products and services specifically for those rural consumers
Okay.
and leverage their agricultural expertise to create those value-added products and services.
It's about understanding the unique challenges and aspirations of rural communities.
And finding innovative solutions to meet their needs.
Of course, distribution and logistics will be crucial.
Yeah, getting those products to those remote areas won't be easy.
But it's not just about rural India.
Right, there's also that rising middle class.
As incomes rise, people are looking for those more premium products and experiences.
And that plays to ITC's strengths in areas like hospitality
Packaged foods.
and personal care.
Absolutely, they could expand their premium offerings.
Focus on quality and brand building
It's all about elevating the consumer experience.
and offering something truly unique and aspirational.
And they can use their digital capabilities to connect with these consumers too,
Right, digital marketing and e-commerce are going to be essential.
for reaching and engaging with this segment.
And then, of course, there's international expansion.
They've already dipped their toes in.
But there's so much more room to grow.
They could build on their presence in markets like Southeast Asia and Africa.
Leveraging their brands and their expertise in FMCG and agriculture.
It's time to take their success story global.
But going global isn't easy.
You've got to assess those market opportunities.
Adapt their products and strategies
Build strong partnerships.
in these new markets.
It's a complex undertaking.
But the rewards can be huge.
Absolutely.
So ITC has a lot on their plate.
A mix of opportunities and challenges.
But they're not afraid of change.
They're constantly evolving and innovating.
And their commitment to sustainability.
Yeah.
Their understanding of the market.
And their track record of success.
All suggest they're well equipped to thrive in the coming years.
I agree.
It's been a fascinating deep dive so far.
It really has.
But I think it's time we wrap things up for today.
Okay.
When we come back, we'll explore some of those challenges and opportunities in more detail.
I can't wait.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We've spent this whole deep dive looking at ITC Limited.
And it's clear they're not just standing still.
They're evolving
They're innovating.
and facing some pretty big challenges and opportunities along the way.
It's like they're navigating this constantly changing landscape.
And they're going to have to stay agile if they want to thrive.
Absolutely.
So one of the biggest things we talked
Was
about,
that changing consumer landscape in India?
right? People are more health conscious
More environmentally aware.
and they expect a lot more from the companies they do business with
It's a global trend, but it's really noticeable in India.
their young and increasingly demanding population.
Exactly. So ITC really needs to stay ahead of the curve.
Especially when it comes to their product portfolio,
They've made a good start.
with things like ITC mission millets,
Right. tapping into that demand for healthier and more sustainable food.
But they can't afford to rest on their laurels.
No, they need to keep innovating and adapting.
Coming up with those exciting new products and services.
That really align with those changing preferences.
And they've got to do all that while also keeping an eye on affordability.
Because India is a price-sensitive market.
Finding that sweet spot between premium offerings and accessibility.
That's going to be crucial.
It's not just about meeting those consumer demands, though.
Right. They've also got that intense competition to think about.
Yeah, the Indian market's getting more crowded every day.
With all these companies, domestic and international,
All wanting a piece of the pie,
ITC needs to defend its position,
especially in that core FMCG segment.
where the competition is the fiercest.
They've built these strong brands.
But they can't just sit back and relax.
They need to keep investing in brand building.
Marketing and distribution.
It's a constant race. You can't just sprint at the beginning.
You've got to pace yourself, conserve your energy, adapt to the changing terrain.
We talked about some incredible opportunities for ITC, though.
Like what?
Well, that growth of the rural market in India really stands out,
That's a massive market.
with so much potential.
And ITC's already well positioned there.
With their distribution network and their agricultural businesses.
So what else can they do to really capitalize on that opportunity?
I think they could develop products and services.
Specifically for those rural consumers.
Right.
And leverage their agricultural expertise.
To create those really value-added products and services.
It's all about understanding the unique needs of those communities.
Their aspirations.
And finding solutions.
Distribution and logistics are going to be key, though.
Yeah, getting those products to those remote areas.
That's not going to be easy.
But it's not just about rural India.
Right. There's also that rising middle class.
Incomes rise.
People are going to be looking for those more premium products and experiences.
And that really plays to ITC's strengths.
In areas like hospitality,
Packaged foods.
personal care,
So they could expand those premium offerings.
focus on quality,
Innovation and brand building.
elevate that consumer experience.
Offer something truly unique and aspirational.
And they can leverage their digital capabilities, too.
To connect with these consumers.
Digital marketing and e-commerce
Those are going to be essential.
for reaching and engaging with this segment.
And then, of course, there's international expansion.
Right. They've dipped their toes in, but there's still so much room for growth.
They could build on their presence in markets like Southeast Asia and Africa.
Showcasing their brands.
And their expertise.
It's time to take that success story global.
But it's not easy.
No going global comes with its own set of challenges.
You have to really understand those markets.
Adapt those products and strategies.
Build those strong partnerships.
It's complex.
But the rewards can be huge.
So we've come full circle.
We've explored ITC from top to bottom.
Their financials.
Their strategies.
Sustainability.
Their people.
Their opportunities.
And their challenges.
It's clear that ITC has a lot on its plate.
A lot on its plate.
Exciting opportunities.
Daunting challenges.
But they've shown a real willingness to embrace change.
They're constantly evolving and innovating.
And looking for new ways to create value.
I think their commitment to sustainability.
Their deep understanding of the Indian market.
And their track record of success.
All suggest that they're well equipped to handle whatever comes their way.
It's been a fascinating deep dive.
Into the world of ITC Limited.
A company with a rich history.
And an even brighter future.
Thanks for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.